I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, December 11th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Here.
Vice Mayor Banther? Here. Commissioner Sieber,
Here.
Commissioner Kikta is absent and excused. Commissioner Carr?
Tonight's invocation will be given by our city attorney. If you please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father in heaven, we ask for your special blessing this Christmas season, all those assembled here tonight. We especially pray for the well-being and health of the people throughout the world who are suffering from conflict, illness, hunger, and other human tragedy. May all men and women who are less fortunate than we are be ever in our hearts during this season of joy and love. This we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here tonight. We go into the public comments of the items that will not be discussed tonight. If anyone has any public comments, please come forward and state your name and your address for the record. Here none. Thank you. We are going to the presentation, Feast Day of the Epiphany, and I will read the proclamation. The City of Tarpon Springs, Florida proclamation. Whereas His Eminence Archbishop Demetrius, General of American, and His Eminence Metropolitan Elections of Atlanta will be celebrating the Feast Day of the Epiphany, and whereas the City of Tarpon Springs welcome honored guest Consul General of Greece Dimitrios Sparos, and whereas the City of Tarpon Springs has been identified by history and tradition as the city in the United States with the longest consecutive celebration of the Feast Day of Epiphany and home to the oldest and largest celebration in the United States, and whereas the City of Tarpon Springs has been internationally known and officially designated as Epiphany City, whereas the City of Tarpon Springs is home to St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Cathedral, patron saint of sponges, shrimping, and fish and seamen, and whereas the Feast Day of Epiphany is steadfast in truth into the belief and customs, rich in tradition and culture of the Orthodox Christian's faith, and whereas His Eminence Archbishop Demetrios, Yeron of American, and His Eminence Metropolitan Alexis of Atlanta has bestowed special honor to the City of Tarpon Springs and St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Cathedral for their participation on this special occasion on the Feast Day of the Epiphany. And now, therefore, I, Chris Alahouzes, by virtue of the authority vested in me, as the mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim January 6, 2019, as a celebration of the 113th anniversary of the Feast Day of the Epiphany. Father Haros and Mr. Sisoy are here to receive the proclamation. Please come forward. Oh, I didn't see him. Thank you. Father, thank you for coming and receiving the proclamation. Thank you. Father, do you want to say a few words? They want to take a picture. Oh, they'll take a picture. Okay. Oh. Thank you.
I have to use the microphone, or?
Yes, please,
Oh,
so they
okay,
can
okay,
hear you, so you can, yeah,
Mom always said I had a big mouth, but I'm not quite sure that's what she meant.
but it cannot be recorded.
The only thing I wish to say, of course, is to thank the city for recognizing the importance of this event, and that we in the cathedral, we take our privilege of being able to ask God to bless our city each and every year, the protection of God and His wisdom and His guidance. So our blessing is that we get to ask God to bless not only Tarpon Springs, but the greater Tampa Bay area through this event. So it is an extreme privilege for us. God bless you all.
Thank you, Father. We are all looking forward to the Feast Day of the Epiphany. It's something we've been waiting all year for. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is Tarpon Springs Sourdough Performance Ensemble Bands of America 2018 Division AA National Champion. We are so proud and glad that we're champions again. And I know Mr. Ford is here, and the students are here to receive the Award of Excellence, which it says presented to Tarpon Springs High School Outdoor Performance Ensemble, crowned Bands of America 2018 Division AA National Championship, presented this 11th day of December 2018, Mayor Chris Alajuzas, Vice Mayor David Panther, Commissioner Reyes Sieber, Commissioner Susan Kikta, and Commissioner Jacob Carr. We are very proud to present this award of excellence to you, Mr. Ford, and to all the students. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, so proud of what you're doing. Appreciate it. Delia, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you want us all to come out? Yeah, can we? Sure, that'd be nice.
Hi. Well, again, we just want to say thank you so much for this recognition and the opportunity to just say thank you for all of the support that you guys have given us. Tonight we have Maria Chigueras with us, who's another band president. I'm Kayleen. I'm band president. Tucker as well as a band president. We have Michaela Phillip here, who's one of our drum majors. Carlin Reichert, who is Reinhardt, sorry, who is one of our color guard captains. And then we have our three instructors, Mr. Kevin Ford, Mr. Chris DeLeon, and Mr. Todd Layton, that are all here today. And we, again, just want to say thank you so much for all the support that you guys have given us.
On behalf of the instructors and the students of the Tarpon Springs Leadership Conservatory for the Arts, I would like to thank the mayor, the commissioners, and the city of Tarpon Springs for this recognition. In our program, our incredible teachers work to instill in every one of us the principle of leadership as service. They teach us that the best leaders work to create environments and opportunities for individuals to achieve a high level of excellence each and every day. And this exact principle can be applied to how we feel about the supportive community. It is in the circle of your dedication and support that our program is able to grow, thrive, and achieve excellence. I hope that everyone knows how proud we are as a program to be able to represent our community at home and abroad. When the program travels to a national venue, it is an amazing feeling to understand what a diverse, dedicated, and caring community we represent. No matter how many challenges our program faces, we know that we can always count on our community to be there to support us in achieving any goal we set ourselves upon. One of my favorite authors, Simon Sinek, once wrote, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." And I thank each and every one of you for being inspiring leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job, Mr. Ford, as always. Item number 3 is Florida Green Building Coalition Silver Level Certification, Florida Green Local Government Designation Program.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, this program, we've been certified for 5 years as a silver level certification for a city for our green initiatives and operational efforts. The police department has been involved in this ever since the inception. I believe this is our second or third go-around, but I'm going to turn it over to Major Young to do the presentation. Thanks, Major.
Thank you, sir. Yes, that's correct, Chief. This is our second recertification through the Florida Green Building Coalition, which is truly a testament to the city as a whole. First, I want to start off by thanking staff for collecting all the data that we needed to provide to the Florida Green Building Coalition for them to examine and recertify the city. At this time, I'm going to ask CJ Davila from the Florida Green Building Coalition to come.
Good evening. My name is CJ Davila, and I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Green Building Coalition. The coalition was formed in 2000 and is the leading certifying agency for green building within the state of Florida, having just surpassed our 18,000th project. To date, 88 local governments have participated in the program. The program is unique within the country because its success emanates from the fact that there's a sizable and compelling return on investment for any municipality that participates, thus reducing the cost to taxpayers. This designation demonstrates exemplary leadership by Mayor Alahousas, Vice Mayor Banther, City Commissioners Sieber, Kitta, and Carr, who also provided the framework and support to move forward with the certification. I also wanted to recognize Major Jeff Young with the Tarpon Springs Police Department and all of the staff who've worked on this tremendous accomplishment. The certification program scores the city in terms of categories. These categories include energy efficiency, water, economic development, tourism, emergency management, planning and zoning, and many more. In each category, there are points that are achieved. Some of the highlights from the Tarpon Springs submission include Tarpon Springs ordered an extensive energy audit to identify opportunities for energy conservation. Their landscape and tree protection ordinance was written to promote water conservation, energy conservation, and to reduce heat island effect through shading and use of native plants. In the event of a natural or other disaster, a debris management plan is in place that calls for the recycling strategy for salvageable materials. The city adopted the clean greening and maintenance procedures, which helps reduce hazardous chemicals and improves indoor quality in city-run buildings. The city of Tarpon Springs has been certified since 2013. They've achieved 34% of all of our 300 points, earning them a silver level designation. On behalf of our members and our board of directors, we want to thank the city of Tarpon Springs on this tremendous achievement. So thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations to Tarpon Springs.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Nice.
Jeff, you guys all want to go up?
Yeah, sure.
We're all going back.
I'll get out of the picture.
Receiving another 5-year certification is very important to all of us. That shows that how much we care about the energy efficiency and the protection environment. And I want to thank all the staff, acting city manager, Cochin, Major Young, and all the employees for being able to achieve such a goal. Thank you very much. Any commission comments? Commissioner Sieber.
So I just had my question answered by Major Young. We started a new community garden here in our community this year, and that helped to increase the points of that.
That was
of
one of the projects that we used as to show compliance with what the regulations they're looking for.
Great, yeah, glad that helped, thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none, thank you. The next item, number 4, it's an update on Anclo River dredging project. Bob Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director, and I'm here tonight to give you an update on the Anclote River Dredge project. Since the last update, the Army Corps has continued to work on permitting and design for the project. Through that process, they have recognized a need to split the dredge into 2 phases for a variety of reasons related primarily to schedule. The scope of the first phase, phase 1, as described in my backup memo, is the main part of the river. It's from the turning basin all the way out turning basin at the bridge at Alt 19, all the way out to past the mouth of the river, about halfway to the distance to Anclote Key. So it's the majority of the river. Figure 1 in your backup memo is a map showing that area, and I hope the printout came out okay there. The Army Corps is proposing to put this work out to bid late next month. That's late in January. So they're moving that up. The scope of phase 2 is the outer cuts, that's what they call it, picking up where phase 1 leaves off and completing the rest of the federal channel all the way out to the marker. Part of this work will involve relocating the channel, as I've explained before, to deeper waters, but will now also include some dredge work at the outer part. This is based on their updated survey work. The permitting work related to that phase is lagging behind phase 1, and so the Corps elected to split this work out separate from phase 1, so not to hold up or not to delay the major part of the dredge. So I think that was a pretty good decision to do that. I've also added a phase 3 in your memo, and this phase is not part of the Army Corps project. The scope of the work for phase 3 is a city initiative to dredge the portion of the turning basin that falls outside of the federal jurisdiction, that's shown in figure 2 in your backup. This will require the city to complete the design and permitting and dredging on our own. We did try to include this work in the Army's project, and it still would have been in our own expense, but they advised against adding it because it would cause a significant schedule risk. And any schedule risk could result in losing federal funding. That's the $3.5 million federal allocation, so we didn't want to risk. That was not a risk worth taking to lose the entire dredge for this small piece. So at this early point, the Army Corps does feel that the $3.5 million federal allocation for the project covers both of its 2 phases, so we're still okay there, which should allow us to apply the Pinellas County contribution to our phase 3. I'm still working out the cost numbers on that part. This information is hot off the presses. I just got this update early last week. So I will come back to you as soon as I can with an update on how we're going to approach phase 3. But that's a brief update on the project, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for staying on top of this project. I got a question to ask you on the phase 1, which is from the turning base where the old Pappas was,
Yes.
to the mouth of the river.
Right.
When the Army Corps of Engineers are working on that, are they going to provide some kind of a temporary channel to keep the navigation of the vessels going?
Well, the barge is comparatively small. They're going to have to try to provide a way to maintain traffic flow through there. I don't have a maintenance of traffic plan from them yet on how that's going to happen on the waterway, but I'm assuming that will be part of it, and it'll be something I look forward to.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have on the phase 3, which is the turning base that is now part of the federal channel, is that under the jurisdiction of Pinellas County?
Well, it could be included as part of the funding from Pinellas
Yeah,
County.
but it is Pinellas County, under the Pinellas County jurisdiction, right?
Yeah, right. It's within the county.
And what I was going to say, since it belongs to Pinellas County, if the $300,000 that we have for, I think it was for designing and permitting, if it's not enough, maybe we can go back and ask for more, being that that's part of their responsibility.
Certainly a potential if we need to, and like I said, I hope to get you some numbers as soon as I can so we can decide if we want to move forward with that.
Thank you so much.
Sir.
Any commission comments?
No
Vice Mayor
comments.
Perez.
No comments. Just saying thank you again.
Okay.
I hope that this might be my last dredge update. I'm not sure what you have planned, but thank you very much for all this and what you've done over the past 3 or 4 years for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Sieber?
Thanks, Bob, for the update and, of course, all your persistency and your work on this. I'm glad that they're starting phase one, that they're doing it in phases, because
Yeah.
it makes sense to not hold the whole project up. So I'm glad that we're moving forward,
I agree.
and we'll be starting on phase one soon, and look forward to hearing from you for more updates as that continues. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the update. I've got a question about phase 3. How would this work? Because I know I've asked you and Mark about adding additional portions to the dredge, and I was kept being told, no, we can't do this. So I'm just confused on how we could add this potentially to the dredge and how that would work.
Well, we're not technically adding it to the Army Corps project, although we did try to. We could have done it through a memorandum of agreement with the Army, but because of the schedule delays, it wasn't ever going to work. That's probably why you got the information that you did. The way we're going to have to approach this is a separate standalone project where we design it, we permit it, we put it out to bid, and do all that work on our own.
Okay, so it's just a completely separate project that would be an add-on to.
Yeah, and it wasn't originally part of the project. It was surveys that came in the last several months that convinced me that that area really needs to get done. We didn't have all that information before, but the part that extends beyond the federal jurisdiction is just too hazardous. It has to be dredged.
So, out of curiosity, I know there's some issues with, like, from the channel to, like, the Yacht Club Bridge, and I know there's not a whole lot of commercial activity that goes down that area, but I know there's a lot of issues with navigating that part of I don't know, you call that the intercoastal area or the inlet in between the bayous. So is there any other thoughts if we're looking at doing a separate dredge? And then I also know there's some residents have complained in the past that have come to public comment that have said that there used to be deeper water behind their houses and so on. Is that an area that the city has looked at or is interested in looking at all?
At this time, we're focused primarily on the Anklet River proper. I have some thoughts about putting together a kind of a continuing services dredge proposal at some point, perhaps once we get through our experience with this, where we can come in and do the supplemental dredge work throughout the the waterways within the city. I think that's something that would be important for us to be able to do, but I don't have that programmed into a capital budget right now. So
yeah, I understand it costs a lot of money, and there's not.
Yeah.
And this is something that is phase 3 though? Would that be something in 2019 we'd be looking at, or is that more in 2020?
I'm hoping to get the design and permitting done by maybe towards the end of 2019, so that we can put it out for procurement within a year. It takes a long time to get these permits.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something I'm hoping to get done by 2020, which is, if you remember, that was our original schedule to do the whole project. So we're doing pretty good schedule-wise, and with this supplemental dredge falling in behind it, I think we're still going to meet that target that we had originally set out to meet.
Do you know if like SwiftMud or any other organizations provide some type of grants for this? Because I know like in the bayous, for instance, there's a lot of silt that's run off from the roadways for the past 60 years, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah, I've not heard of any grants available for dredge work, but
okay,
it's something I could look for.
I was just curious. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Thank you, Bob. We're now going to the consent agenda. Number 5 is the minutes. A is October 16, 2018, regular session. B is October 22nd, 2018, work session. C is November 6, 2018, regular session. And D is November 13, 2018, regular session. Number 6 is the attorney fees for Johnson & Jackson. And this is an invoice 3713. Number 7 is the special events. A is First Friday, November 2019. Number 8 is to approve contract with Supervisor of Elections. And number 9 is the award bid number 190008-B-JJ furnishing and install fencing and gates. We also have an addendum, item number 1, for Trask and Dynadog invoice 57-185. Any items that you like to pull to discussion? No? Thank you. Are any commission comments? No? Are there any public comments on this item? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. We're now going to item number 10, which is part of the special consent agenda. Item number 10 is to authorize execution of purchase agreement for a cemetery plot for private family chapel. Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. This item before you tonight, we're requesting the board to authorize the mayor and the city manager to execute a purchase agreement for a 16 by 16 foot plot at Cycadia Cemetery for the purpose of constructing and maintaining a private family visitation chapel. I've got a short presentation I'd like to provide. This is in the backup, but it gives you a little bit more about the project and the proposed agreement. So we're going to give a brief background on what led to the project, some details on the project itself, outline a draft agreement, and with your approval, what the possible path forward would look like from there. The Macris family owns a lot on the north end of our cemetery in the back by the pond back there and has proposed to build a small private chapel adjacent to their lot. The chapel is to serve as a place of family visitation and remembrance. It will not be used for emplacement of remains. That makes this a very unique project, unlike any other really that's built there. The style of the chapel with the dome, arches, bell tower, and cross is to emulate many of the small chapels seen in Greece while still remaining compact. So here's some examples of what is being evoked by this style. The one on the bottom right, is an example of a small scale of what's being proposed. So as far as where it is in the cemetery, on the right you can see an orange box towards the back. That's the proposed area, and the entrance to the cemetery is at the bottom of the page there to give you an orientation. This is a low-lying area. It actually gets prone to wet conditions when the really heavy rains hit, and that pond actually can top its banks at times. That's been taken into account in the agreement, and the proposed purchaser understands these conditions, is willing to abide by them in the type of construction of the project. Here's what the plot area looks like. There's actually quite a bit of space between existing plots. We did a field measurement out there, including making sure there weren't any burials in the ground to be doubly sure. And this would still provide alleyway between the plot and the existing plots. And you can see the Macris plot is located just to the east of what's being proposed. So here's a rendering provided by their professional architect that they hired to put the concept together. A view from the northwest, you can see it's compact. I've got some dimensions for you on a following slide, but that gives you a sense of keeping the height of the building to a minimum, which was important to cemetery staff so that we don't have too imposing of a building out there, while still allowing it to be used for entry and visitation. So city staff reviewed this, and we defined some general specifications on a design that would be harmonious with the cemetery, not being too high or too wide, allowing a view on each side of it. We determined a fair market value price for the plot based on our existing pricing inflated over the years. We performed field measurements and verifications that the space was indeed vacant, and we worked with our city attorney to draft an agreement. The results of our review, types of things that we looked at, the area of the building needs to be less than 120 square feet. As proposed, it's 88.75 square feet, so much less than our limit. The primary roof peak not to be more than 8 feet. It meets that requirement. And also the maximum height of the structure, 10 feet. It also meets that requirement. And then we made an allowance for a cross or something itself to be up to 12 feet, the very highest point of the cross. And they've met that requirement as well. The proposed purchase price of $13,980 plus the nominal city legal costs to put the deed together were agreed upon by the proposed purchaser. And we also confirmed, as I mentioned before, that there is the space available, and that would be subject to survey that would be performed by the proposed purchaser as part of the permitting process. So the draft agreement would address a variety of things in the project. It describes the conveyance of the deed with specific rights to construct and maintain the chapel and the allowable use to be one of visitation and remembrance and no emplacing of remains. It would require a receipt of a city permit and adherence to the design specifications as a condition of closing. And the purchaser acknowledges in the lease that the area is prone to flooding and accepts all responsibility, including securing it, maintaining it, repairing it, as well as the associated risk of loss. The purchaser will undertake at their own expense all the site preparation, design, survey, construction, and landscaping. So with the board's approval to move forward, the next steps after that would be the purchase agreement would be finalized and executed between the city and the purchaser. Purchaser would complete that survey and plans and submit for the permit. And once that's issued, after meeting all the requirements, we would hold the closing and issue the deed, and only then would construction be started. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions about the project. Or
Thank you for this presentation. I like the design of the chapel. It's very, as you said, it's very common in Greece, especially on the Greek island. I know when we visited last year, we saw many of those. But on Curlew Hill Cemetery, it was one just completed last, I think it was last month or maybe 5 weeks ago. And I was there when they did the ribbon cutting. I thought that was very nice that they're doing that. You answered my question. This is not a mausoleum. This is only a chapel.
That's
and
right.
it's going to be used for visitation and remembrance, nothing else. I see that as a positive, that we selling a piece of property for a chapel, that it can't be used for anything else because it gets wet. So people get to have their chapel, and we're selling a piece of property that it not be usable.
Right.
Thank you. Commissioner Sieber.
Thank you, Paul. So as you mentioned, this area is prone to flooding, so it can't be used. It would not be good to be used as a cemetery plot.
I would say it's not ideal. You know, there are still some unutilized plots within that area, so I wouldn't tell you that it couldn't be used, but it just wouldn't be a preferable use of that site.
Okay.
Whereas a building with the proper elevation above that area and the understanding that there may be periods of time where you can't access it, that's a better use.
Okay, yeah, I was just making sure, since we're tied in that cemetery and sold out, that we couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Also, they're responsible for maintaining and repairing, and I know that the Macris family is responsible once Peter Macris is gone. What happens if that property does not get maintained? Does it go to code enforcement, or?
Well, no, we really face that dilemma with just about anything. Anytime anyone does any improvements out there, this probably gives us better protection than most because we actually have it in writing in an agreement. But normally what we would do is, the first thing we do is we're making sure the construction's going to be of a quality that would stand 50 plus years. So if something didn't get maintained, it's something that if we had to step in with minimal work, we could at least make it presentable and, you know, have it not take down the quality of the cemetery itself. But I'm not expecting that to happen, but I do think we have the safeguards that we need.
Thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it either, but just that
Yeah.
things happen.
Sure.
50, 60, 80 years from
Yes.
now. And it will be open at all times for visitation.
Well, it is a private building, and what we've asked them is if it's something that you can go inside of, they need to secure it.
Okay.
And they need to provide us a key to it, of course, but we don't want to have a different kind of problem of people going in there that aren't really supposed to be in there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
No?
I don't have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none. Chair will entertain a motion. And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Mr. Smith, thank you. Item number 11 is to authorize city manager to negotiate a long-term lease of the city property on Lime Street and Hewitt Avenue for a dental clinic. And staff report.
Good evening, Paul Smith again for you. Just trying to get this computer screen to change, and I might need a little bit of help from upstairs, meaning the control room, that is. But while hopefully that's happening, I'll go ahead and introduce this item. I'm pleased to present to you a recommendation to authorize the city manager to negotiate a long-term lease for city property on Lime Street and Huey Avenue with Community Health Centers of Pinellas, also known as CHCP, for a community dental clinic here in Tarpon Springs. In the audience tonight is Elodie Dorso. She's the president and CEO of CHCP. Also Steve Kelly, the project manager with CHCP, and Roger Salou. He's chairman of the finance committee and a board member for this organization. I'm trying to get the plan. Thank you, Mike. So with that, I'd like to present to you basically what's in your backup here, and they're available to answer questions in more detail about the proposed project or the organization. So we thank them for being here as well this evening. So the city owns a parcel on Lime Street and Huey Avenue, and Mike has graciously pulled it up for me here. We've got it up on the screen, located on the northeast corner of Huey Avenue and Lime Street. You all are probably familiar with where this plot is. It's a 1.6 acre lot. And what's important about this is it's full of utilities, some of them city utilities, but also Duke Energy facilities. And other than that, and also a city lift station, other than that, it's a vacant lot. But it's very hard to use this lot because of all these utilities need to stay in service, including that city lift station. So it takes a unique project and a unique partner to work with that site and do something good for the community while still allowing us to utilize our utilities as we need to. And that's what I believe this project is. We've been working with them on the requirements, and they've developed a concept to meet those requirements. And I'd like to show you a site plan. There we go. As proposed, it's a 5,000 square foot dental clinic shown up on the screen there. It's also in your backup. But as I mentioned before, to the left side of the site are overhead power lines. So CHCP has worked with us to make that their parking area. We think that'll be agreeable to Duke Energy to meet the requirements of what can be underneath power lines. Also, the stormwater ponds over to the right-hand side are placed in such a way that they'll facilitate as much space on the site and still allow the building to be 5,000 square feet. The building's also been shifted back in the site to allow room for one of our buried sewer lines to continue to exist. Because one thing you never want to have is a building over the top of an active pipe. Because if or when that pipe ever breaks and we have to dig it up, that would be a bad situation. So this is an example of how they've really worked well on the planning. Further down is the city lift station. It's sort of hard to see on that drawing, but it's a good size main lift station that serves this entire area for us. And so that was also part of the way they've sited that building. So with that, we've outlined some of the things that we would recommend be in a lease Of course, there's going to be a lot more things that are going to be talked about and considered. And what we're really looking for tonight is your approval to move forward with that lease development process, all of which, of course, would come back to you all for final approval. Some of the things we'd be talking about are how long a term of lease would we recommend to you? And I can tell you that's a balancing act between, you know, the person leasing the property wants enough time to get full use out of their building. On the other hand, we don't want it to be so long that it goes beyond the useful life of the building, so there needs to be some balancing on the term of the lease. Also, how often are any lease payments made? You know, it's a recommendation generally that annually, we would structure those payments annually in some nominal amount to reflect the fact that this facility benefits our community. But those are some of the things we'll need to work through and come back to you for a final approval. Also, we'll want to make sure we delineate those utilities that are on the site, the type of uses that'll be happening on the site, allowing the opportunity to share a stormwater management facility or the pond if possible to both help the city drain the road in that area while also meeting the needs of the clinic. And then on and on in the memo, some types of general conditions, really just to give you an idea of all the things that'll need to be worked through in this process. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you all if I can answer any questions or if CHCP can answer any questions for you.
Mr. Smith, thank you again for this presentation and to move forward with this project. I think it's very important to our community. You just said the right words. This is good for the community. And we've been waiting a long time for this opportunity to have a dental clinic right next to the medical clinic to serve the most vulnerable people in Tarpon Springs. I had the opportunity to, with Mr. Salou, Mr. Licurtis, and we visited the dental clinic down in Clearwater. And I can tell you that I was very, very impressed with the services that they provided. This is something that we really need here in Tarpon Springs, and I'm in favor for it. Commissioner comments? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm in full support of this. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's a great need in our community. We have the health center there, and but we don't have we don't have to my knowledge a dental clinic for those that don't have the money to get services. So that's a very good idea, and it's at the proper location. Just for the record, though separate from this applicant, just to be intellectually honest, I find it ironic that somebody figured out how to build on this property when the same piece of property we had to buy from the Shepherd Center, who accused us of inverse condemnation. So I just, for the record, find that kind of ironic.
Yes, I have to agree with you, Vice Mayor, on that. But yes, thank you. This is a much needed dental center up here in North Pinellas. I mean, obviously from looking at this data, how many people do not go to the dentist who need to, and how many have tooth extractions, and how many people use the other clinics. We need something up here in North Pinellas, so definitely am for this and looking forward to more information in the future.
Thanks, Mayor. Paul, what other options have we looked at from a city standpoint, or has there been any other options, or is this the only one that we've looked at for this site?
I can say the city manager's considered some different types of uses, but I do believe this is the best one that's come along in terms of the benefit to the community that it offers and its ability to integrate with a very busy site as it is right now.
Okay. I've got a couple questions for I don't know, they're not applicants. I'm not really sure how to the board members. Yeah. I've got a couple questions just on how this works. Just to put on the record, can somebody come up to the podium and thank you.
No problem.
My grandmother, she's on a fixed income. She had to have some dental procedures done. It was like a big stress on her, and obviously it's hard for her to ask for help or even to offer help to her from a family perspective due to, I want to try to do this myself. So I do find that organizations like this, she would have been more receptive to. And I think for the amount of more mature population that we have in Tarpon Springs, it's nice to see this project come in. So can you just give us a little bit of a background of how maybe one would qualify for the services? I'm assuming it's not completely free, but you'd have some type of charge.
Correct.
I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of low income in that vicinity also, and kind of how do you target to get the word out as well?
Sure, absolutely. So no, we're not a free clinic.
Excuse me interrupting you.
Yes.
Would you please state your name?
Oh,
again,
yes,
please?
Elodie
Thank you.
Dorso, CEO of Community Health Centers. We're not a free clinic. We believe in a value of $1 and accountability for your healthcare services. However, we do use what's called a sliding fee scale, which is based upon the federal poverty limit. So a person's income or assets, the number in their household. For the dental clinic, somebody that is at or below 100% of the poverty level can get their preventative care for a nominal fee of $40. However, if they are unable to pay that $40, they are not turned away for care ever. We work with them on even if they can give us $1 for those services. The same with the medical care as well. We have a nominal fee for $20 for those at or below 100% of the poverty level, and then a sliding fee scale discounted for those up to 200% of the poverty level from there.
What is the poverty level at right now?
It is based upon the number in your household, so I couldn't just give you a certain number. Yeah. It's set by the federal government every year.
Do you guys receive funding through fundraising, or is it a federal government?
So we are
funds,
a private not-for-profit community health center that receives about 20% of our funding through the federal government through what's called a 330 grant through the Health Resources Services Administration. The rest of our funding comes from Medicaid billings or Affordable Care Act billings. About 29% of our current patients are uninsured. We see about a third of every Medicaid patient in the county, or actually over a third. We're about 39% of all Medicaid patients currently in the county.
Very interesting. For like a 5,000 square foot facility, how many staff members would something like this target, I suppose?
Well, we'll probably look at about 10 to 13 operatories for the dental center. And we may have some other ancillary services in there, case management or things like that. I would say that we'll probably look at about 15 to 20 staff members in that location, which is what we currently employ in the medical location right next door. We currently see do about 12,000 medical visits annually and are out of our medical center next door.
That's incredible. There's definitely a need for this in the community, and I'm in support of this. 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 3 days a week?
Definitely 5 days a week. And we'll have to see if there's a need for on the weekends. Our goal here is to obviously reduce the amount of non-emergent ER visits into the hospital, which is extreme. It's the number 1 or 2, depending on the year, for emergency visits in the hospitals.
Tooth issues are?
Tooth issues, tooth pain.
Okay.
Also, the number 1 reason why kids are out of school as well, for absenteeism.
Wow. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for that information, and
You're welcome.
Thank you. Since you're important, would you please explain to us the clinic on wheels that you're going to have?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The clinic on wheels on the mobile home?
Oh, on the mobile health center that we're going to be having?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So we recently were awarded a $465,000 grant through Direct Relief, which kind of looks at relief for hurricanes, basically. Due to Hurricane Irma, we were shut down for about a week to 10 days in some areas because of power outages. So with that $465,000, we will be purchasing and manufacturing a new mobile health center, which will have 2 dental operatories and a medical exam room, which we believe that we will have up and running by June 1st of 2019. It is our intention to provide some dental services here with that new mobile health center in Tarpon Springs before we can get the building up and running and built to begin to bring services to this community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Seaver, you have a question?
Sorry.
Excuse me.
So how many staff will you have on the mobile home units?
How many staff members? Generally, it's about 3 staff members.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great program. Any public comments on this item?
David Archie, 512 Martin Luther King. You know, it's always a pleasure when I come before the commission and that y'all have already decided to do something that I believe is worthwhile. But I just want to just say a couple of things is that, you know, government sometimes have an opportunity to impact the residents as far as their quality of life. Some of you might know that 2008, 2009, Congressman Bill Aracus actually got $1.2 million funding to build that community health center, but had no land. Through the benevolent acts of St. Timothy Lutheran Church is the reason that we have a health center. Money, no land. This is another opportunity, I think, to impact our residents. Pinellas County has designated that areas in Tarpon Springs is one of the 5 most impoverished communities in this county. So you have quite a few individuals that are not able to afford dental care. From what I know from my opportunity, I say, of working in this community for over 25 years, we have children as well as adults that suffer because they cannot afford dental care. When you have a medical condition that you have to go to the doctor, then they do. But some, because they cannot afford dental, I saw a young man just yesterday suffering until a point of something has to happen, and then it's an emergency. So I am happy with what I hear, and that's to move forward with this. This is something that's been talked about a while as far as Tarpon is concerned. It's a great need. Even if the city had some opportunities to do some things at that site, I still would believe that this is the best opportunity to do something that's really going to impact the residents of Tarpon Springs. So I just want to thank you in advance for your support of this project.
Any other commission comments? Mr. Salou? No comment? Okay. Thank you. I will entertain the motion.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Item number 12 is to authorize execution of engineering service agreement with Duke Energy with the City Hall generator.
Good evening, Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. Good? Okay. So for this item, I'm seeking board approval for the city manager to execute an agreement with Duke Energy to provide engineering services related to the installation of a new backup generator for City Hall. Through this agreement, Duke will provide an electrical load analysis, site location recommendation, equipment specs, and a final lease pricing analysis. The cost to provide these engineering services is $10,000. However, this cost will be waived should we elect to proceed with the lease of a generator after the engineering work is done. So that covers the engineering work, and that's what I'm here about tonight. But to expand a little bit on this, the lease of a generator will be covered under a second agreement known as a Premier Power Service Agreement. And this second agreement will be required to proceed with the actual installation of the generator after the design specs are completed. That agreement was included in your backup for reference only and is not part of tonight's approval, but I wanted to make sure you all had a chance to look at that because I will be coming back to you with that agreement later. So to summarize that agreement, and what this is all going to look like in the end, for a monthly lease payment of right now estimated to be $6,750, the city will get the following. Installation of a new full-size generator with a fuel tank at no upfront cost to the city. The generator will be located here at City Hall and will provide power to all the buildings and equipment here, air conditioning, everything. All operations and maintenance is included in this deal to be provided by Duke. The only thing we would need to pay for is the fuel that we use during emergency times, initial fuel fill up, and fuel that's used during maintenance and testing by Duke will be paid by Duke. The contract term is 10 years. It's renewable at the end of that term. And the current target for startup of the equipment is July 2019. So not as right there in the beginning of the hurricane season for next year. Both of these agreements have been reviewed by myself and the city attorney, and they are provided, as I said, for your review and approval of the first agreement, the engineering service agreement. So with that, I will stop for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I got a couple questions I'd like to ask you, and thank you for discussing that with me earlier today.
You're welcome.
Is the analysis going to include only special circuits, or is it going to include the total load of the whole building?
The total load analysis.
Including air conditioning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because it's very important to make sure that the IT is actually part of that.
Agreed.
The other question that I have is, when you install a generator, you're also going to do a lot of electrical home rehoming, new home runs, and you probably have to consolidate a lot of panels. Is that included into this project?
Yes, it is. It's a big expense as part of this project, and that's one of the upfront costs that we would be avoiding by engaging in this program. So yes, sir, that's included.
So we're only going to have one central location with all, all the disconnects, all the panel and the disconnect.
That's right.
I calculated the cost of the $900,000. I think it comes way cheaper if we buy our own generator and all the maintenance that we do. Plus, they're going to be doing maintenance, as you and I would talk about earlier. They're going to be doing routine maintenance, and including the batteries of the generators will be serviced by the Duke Energy, correct?
Did you say it would be cheaper if
we
lease it?
The batteries of the generator.
Right, the Duke will provide the batteries, but I want to make sure I understood. Did you say you thought it would be cheaper if we lease or purchase?
Yes, if we lease, it would be a lot cheaper. It would be a lot cheaper than purchasing.
I thought you said it differently.
$900,000. Yeah, I did the calculations earlier, and I think we're going to be way ahead.
I agree.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Vice Mayor.
So the fee is $10,000 for the engineering, and if we go with Duke, that's waived, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's no other cost besides $6,000 a month plus fuel. That's it.
That's it.
Nothing else.
No other hidden costs.
Everything else. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Bieber?
Yes, looking at the 900,000, it would be a 15-year payback, but for us, it'd be, I think, a 810 for a 10-year lease. What happens if something happens at City Hall and could this generator be moved? What would happen if a tornado, a hurricane took us out? I'm just thinking, just in case.
Well, the agreement covers a lot of the details about the what-if scenarios. There's insurance built into it, all covered through Duke's program.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Mayor. This is going to sound... But why do we need a generator that covers all of City Hall? Can you give me a little bit more of a breakdown of that?
I'll start by talking about the generator we have now, which covers probably, I don't know, Tom, maybe a dozen outlets and some emergency lighting. Really isn't much of a generator at all. Important functions like IT, keeping the servers running, aren't even supported by the current generator we have. You guys walk past a portable generator on your way into the meeting every week, every 2 weeks. That is used specifically separately for IT because the generator we have is underpowered. Air conditioning wouldn't be work. We wouldn't be able to maintain essential functions of the city in an emergency without a proper generator. This is a lesson we learned in Irma after that storm when we took so long to get back up running again. We had power outages. We had a hard time keeping the government running here. So this is a kind of I would consider it essential services.
Okay. So we need fuel. Can you remind me how many gallons and then how long the generator is proposed to run for?
I don't have the number on the gallonage yet. That's part of something that we're going to determine during the engineering analysis.
Okay.
I think we're probably going to specify something around 48 hours of full load, continuous load, so the fuel will have to supply. But keep in mind, It will have its own belly tank that under which under the generator where it's stored. But not only would that be conservative in terms of the load, you won't run a generator at full load during the whole time, but we also have access to our own fuel supply right across the street. So we have a way of refilling our fuel tank if we need it.
That was my next question of
Yeah.
access to fuel. So, all right, thank you.
Just to clarify, the reason why I ask if we have the air conditioning covered is because the IT equipment, which is the high-tech equipment, with a high temperature will not work properly. The components will change value, so you're gonna have thrown circuits.
Yes, sir.
Are there any public comments on this item? No comments? Thank you, and I will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Thank you. Yes, and we now go to item number 13 is the approval of the fiscal year 2018-2019 Elsel Street repaving program.
Good evening, Tom Function, Public Works Director. Yeah, this is our biannual resurfacing program. We prepared a list that you have in your backup. We completed based on some technical criteria, and we recommend the paving work to be completed in the order of the prioritized list, the amount of about $260,000. This is our biannual, not to get confused with the biannual reconstruction list, the two different type of processes. And I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner Carr?
Thanks. I know there's a lot of areas here that are in need of resurfacing, so this is good to see that we're moving forward with this. This is the area that more budget was put in for this year, wasn't it? Or is it the reconstruction?
Yes, it was an extra 100,000.
I know there's some large runs along Riverside that are overdue to be resurfaced, so it's encouraging to see that. I've mentioned it in past meetings about where Riverside runs into McChesney and how it's an area where people have been turning around in the neighbors' yards instead of doing a 3-point turn. I know I mentioned it to Mark and I brought it up to you in the meetings. Did anybody look at any area where any asphalt might be able to be expanded at all so they have a better area to turn around instead of going in the neighbors' yards?
Yeah, that area of McChesney has got some issues with some encroachment from some property owners into the city right away. It's going to be a little more involved than just going out there and resurfacing an area. The first home site, hedging actually comes in about 15 feet into the right of way. So we'll need to contact those people, put together some agreement. I just want to come in there and rip somebody's hedges up and then possibly resurface that. That's going to be more of a reconstruction than actually a resurfacing. Because the basin all has failed there, and there may be some issues with some utilities there, so that should come up in a later list as far as reconstruction.
I actually think it's the property before you get to McChesney, like in the corner, outside of Harbor Watch. I know they were saying about 25 cars a day during the wintertime are doing basically circle turns in the front yard of that house.
Yeah, there's a section, on the I guess it's the southeast corner. The roadway actually goes forward. It's a paper roadway beyond Harbor Watch.
Okay.
And then McChesney kind of falls off to the left. And then we have to take some of that extension along with the hedges in the one property in order to make something big enough because I'll have to get a fire truck around there too.
Okay.
So it's got some challenges in there.
Okay, got it. And then I don't have any other questions actually, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thanks. I really appreciate these updates because people are always asking, when is this going to happen and when is that road or this alley going to get fixed? So it's nice to have this in front of us. And I appreciate some of these alleyways that are quite used because I get comments from citizens who have concerns with alleyways. So I appreciate that these are included also for surfacing. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tom.
Mr. Funcher, thank you for the discussion we had earlier today. I'm glad that Athens Street is going to be included, being that this is the connection between the downtown and the Spring Stop. what I'm going to ask you is to make sure that we do the work, not to do it during tourist season, so will not affect the visitors.
Yeah,
Possible.
probably looking for early spring sometime. I'd like to do it just past Easter. Of course, everything's going to depend on weather, and of course, oil prices have a big thing to do with this on exactly how much of this roadway I get. But usually, spring has a tendency to have lower oil prices, so hopefully that'll help us in our budget.
So the prices are favorable now?
Oil is a big factor in asphalt. People don't realize that. And then as the spring comes in, believe it or not, the summer blends change with gasoline and asphalt, and it usually drives the oil prices down a little bit. So that's my timing, is to hopefully do that.
The only thing I will ask you is if it's possible to give us a timetable on this project. When do you think they will start? And when's the completion date?
I'll put a notice out once we get this under contract and they get a schedule with the contractor. I'll be happy to do that.
Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Need a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. We are now going to the ordinance and resolutions. Item number 14 is the ordinance 2018-29, application 18-142, impact fees, water and sewer. This is a second reading. The city attorney will read the ordinance.
Mayor Commissioners, ordinance 2018-29, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 20, Water and Sewer, specifically Section 20-1, by decreasing the water and sewer service impact fees, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for the inclusion in the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2018-29 by title only, and it requires a public hearing.
Thank you. Staff report?
There's been no additional information since first read, and I can answer any questions that you might have.
I see that as a good thing. We're reducing the impact fees. Commissioner Seaver, you have a question?
No, I'm happy.
Anybody? No. Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. I need a motion.
Motion to approve?
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes.
Thank
We're now
you.
going to the item number 15, which is the resolution 2018-29, the budget. Staff report, Mr. Harris? Excuse me, the city attorney will read the resolution.
Thank you. This is Resolution 2018-29. I'll read it by title only. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending the budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. That was a reading of Resolution 2018-29 by title only.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. Ron Herring, Finance Director. Budget Resolution 2018-29 is being brought before you to budget for items that were not previously budgeted for in the 2019 budget. The majority of the items being brought forward were approved and budgeted in 2018, but not expensed in 2018. The items are open encumbrances at 9/30/18 in the amount of about $3.4 million. Donation balances left over at the end of 9/30/18, about $209,000. Major capital items budgeted in 2018, but not started or encumbered, about $5.4 million. Some minor capital operating budget in 2018, but not started as of 9/30/18, about a little over $700,000. And no general fund, unassigned fund balance is being used in this resolution. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Carr? Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Roll call, please.
Thank
We need a motion.
I need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second?
Second. Gonna hurry, yeah? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Item number 16, resolution 2018-31, calling for election and ballot language. City Attorney, if you please read the resolution.
Mayor Commissioners, Resolution 2018-31, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, calling for the municipal general referendum election to be held on March 12, 2019, for the purpose of electing a mayor to serve a term of 3 years and 2 commissioners to serve a term of 3 years each. providing for establishment of the ballot title and substance for one referendum question of whether the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs shall be authorized to grant pursuant to Section 3, Article 7 of the state constitution, ad valorem tax exemptions to new businesses and expansions of existing businesses that are expected to create new full-time jobs in the city, providing for said election, submitting said referendum question to the voters, providing for notice to the supervisor of elections, and providing for the effective date hereof. That was reading Resolution 2018-31 by title only.
Thank you. Do we have a staff report? This is straightforward. Any comments, questions? Are there any public comments on this item? Here none, I need a motion. Motion approved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes, thank you. Item number 17 is the next resolution, 2018-32, Forward Pinellas Grant Obligation. City Attorney, if you please read the resolution.
Mayor Commissioners, Resolution 2018-32, a resolution of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, authorizing the filing of an application for grant funds through Forward Pinellas through the Planning and Placemaking Grant Pilot Program, stating the assurance of the City of Tarpon Springs to complete the project and providing for an effective date. There was reading of Resolution 2018-32 by title only.
Thank you. Ms. Lemon.
Thank you. Karen Lemons, Economic Development Manager. This is the Forward Pinellas. This is the county's planning agency. They're offering a grant program again this year. We're looking for, applying for $50,000 to do what we're calling Activate Tarpon Springs. It would give us a business recruitment and retention strategy, a market analysis for essentially the CRA area. And then the largest project we're looking for as part of the grant is a best and highest use analysis for the west end of Tarpon Avenue. Essentially the vacant lot and the former Sun Bay Motel that we have purchased. We're looking at, we know what we'd like to see there, but a professional analysis of a best and highest use will tell us what's feasible and help us to determine what type of vision we're looking for there. You know, ideally we're looking at both ends of Tarpon Avenue, but this is looking at essentially that piece. So this will help us move forward with our planning for not only that area, but the whole west end of Tarpon Avenue. And as part of the grant application, we need to have the approval of the board and a resolution to go with the application, which is due on the 21st.
Thank you. I hope we have a better case this year.
Yes, we did apply last year. We did not receive it. However, we did meet with the county and talk with them about this year's. They're tweaking it a little bit, the application, and I think we have a compelling story to tell about the circumstances and the issues surrounding our acquisition, what's been happening in that area, and with the special area plan and everything that we have in place there, that this is a good project for moving forward with the grant goals, our placemaking and land use planning. So we have a lot of the background already in place. Now we're looking for that next step, is the feasibility of development on that piece.
This is 100% grant?
Yes, there's no match.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Well, it should be a slam dunk now because we have Commissioner Carr on that board fighting a good fight down county. So
that's right.
Hopefully we can get the money this time, and that's a great idea for that project.
Commissioner Carr?
Yeah, I'm excited
That's
to.
Simon, huh?
Yeah, I've got one, right. I'm excited to join this board here at the first of the year. I think the 9th is our first meeting. So you better believe I'll be fighting for Tarpon Springs for everything I can on this board, and any grant opportunities that are available. Karen, I haven't been in any meetings yet, but do you have any applicants are applying for this grant? And then, you know, what the bucket of fund is available, or how many dollars are available?
I believe the whole grant program is $100,000 this year. And it's open to all the municipalities within Pinellas County, so I don't know how many are applying, but we'll find out after the 21st.
Okay. I want to say thank you. I know at times I could be a little overbearing in saying we need to do certain things, but this is what we've asked for your help with going out and finding grant opportunities studying. I know Commissioner Seaver has brought up some aspects of doing a market analysis of the area and how we could really help businesses and really get a better understanding of what the demographics are in some of these areas. So I just want to say thank you for moving forward with what we've asked, and this is good to see and in support of this.
Super.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. I see the sponge docks are included as well as the CRA for this grant, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed because we need to do all these things desperately, and hopefully we will get it this time. Thank you. And thank you for serving on that board.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this item? Any public comments on this item? None? I need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes, thank you. We are now going to the item number 18, which is property donation, vacant commercial site, 42503 US 19.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director, and I think the mayor said with my third item, I win the meeting, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city manager asked me to cover this item, requesting authorization to execute a property agreement for the donation of the subject property by a private property owner. The property is located at 42503 US Highway 19. It's a 1.5 acre lot just south of the Anklet River, as shown on the location map in your backup. It is a vacant commercial property. It's fenced in. It has some overgrowth, including invasive species such as Brazilian peppers, and if and when desired or required by code, removal of the peppers could be completed with in-house staff. The site also appears to have materials left behind by some homeless folks, and Chief Cochin can address any questions related to that situation if you have any. I did review the third-party environmental report and the geotech report that were provided, and I didn't see any issues with those. Those reports were added to the city website as links to PDFs. They are very large, so we didn't want to fill up your book with 100 pages, but the summary is that they look okay. Closing costs, which include title insurance, were just provided to me by the city's attorney's office this afternoon, and were provided to you in hard copy. I emailed them to you just before the meeting, and you got a hard copy on the dais. It looks like this. You saw this page front and back. You'll see that those costs come to just over $8,900. The majority of the cost of that cost is for title insurance to protect the city. Attorney Trask is familiar with this transaction, and he can help me answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I have no questions. I just want to thank the Wilkinson company for donating the land. After we clean this property, I think it's going to be ideal for green space. Mr. Stipper?
Yeah, I definitely thank the owner, and I'm excited that we have this opportunity to. So many people have been wanting something there that's green space and maybe launching for kayaks, canoes, and a place for people to go on the river. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to this project moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Carr?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I find it fitting that I know we've had a lot of inquiries about wetlands and so on over the past couple months, and I think this is nice, a nice project here to receive this donation from the property owners to preserve this piece of wetland also for Tarpon Springs, because it's not going to be developed on and by a developer and mowed over and mitigated. So I just think it's kind of fitting with everything that we've seen come up over the past month and a half that the city is making an effort to actually receive a piece of property to preserve it. So thanks.
Vice Mayor Panther?
Thank you, and that was my question, was the long-term vision for it, but my colleague said, and what I assume was the consensus, though, is thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item? I hear none. I will entertain the motion.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther,
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas.
Yes, thank you, and that concludes the regular session agenda. We go to the staff comments. Major?
Just Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone.
Tom? Or?
I just want to say also Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Acting City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Like to again wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Also, the police department, we are going through a pretty exhaustive accreditation or reaccreditation process right now. We have assessors from all over the state at the police department, and tomorrow at 10 a.m. we're doing what's called a static display. That means all of our equipment and you know what we do will be on display in the fire department bays at 10 a.m. The assessors will be walking around to each station and questioning the officers and everything. I know the mayor is committed to be there for us, so everyone's welcome. If you want to show up, that would be great. So we're very confident that we'll be reaccredited for another 3 years. And this is, I think, the second time I've been in the center of the dais, and I haven't been challenged tonight. So that's a good thing. So with that said, thank you, Mayor.
Guess we need to find something.
Yeah, we need to find something.
Madam Silic.
I would also like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you to all of our city staff that made Snow Place like Tarpon successful. I never understand how we get that many people in and out of Tarpon Springs. It's just crazy, and I even saw Tom walking around looking for a sewer leak on Hibiscus or something. So it's the small things like that I appreciate, and it takes everyone together to make these things work, and your hard work that doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.
And if I might piggyback off that, to the best of my knowledge, we had minimal problems out there from a police perspective, so the event went really well.
Who's next?
Yeah, I echo your comments, David, and yeah, it was a wonderful event. So many people worked hard, the rec department, the Chamber of the Merchants Association, and of course our city staff, so it was wonderful. And I also want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Mr. Carr.
Thanks, Mayor. Just Merry Christmas to all the residents and staff. Thank you for all your hard work this year. Again, I also want to echo the comments from the rest of the board about Snow Place. It was a great event. The boat parade was one of the bigger ones I've ever seen, I think. And I also had the opportunity to go down the tube, I don't know what it's called, the ice sled tubing, and almost took out the planter coming down at the end. So that was pretty fun to do. Yeah, there's evidence, I know. There's a video and there's pictures. So, well, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
I wanted to add.
And I'm also looking forward to the parade this weekend.
Yes, I was just going to add
You wanna
that.
say something else? Go ahead.
Well, you just said it, but we have our Christmas parade on Saturday, so
Yes, good.
hoping we have everybody out there.
Yeah, that was something I was going to say. This is great. We would like to see everybody at the Christmas parade. But also on December 24th, we have the lineup with Bayou at 6 p.m. That's going to be beautiful. And of course, the Epiphany, January 6th, down at the Bayou. Our next commission meeting is going to be Tuesday, January 8th. I'd like to wish to everyone Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'd like to see everyone to be healthy. It's very, very important to be healthy, believe me. Thank you, and I'll see you all next year. Roger, you know what I was going to suggest? Whenever you get a chance, if you just take the commissioners down to the dental clinic, Clearwater, I think it's going to be. Oh yeah.
I've been.